for these candidates. Do we have any questions? We certainly do.
As you said, democracy is a really big bit of this role. Could you name one college which has a traditionally low turnout and give a suggestion on how they could improve it?
I'm going to start with...
Well, for one of the lowest turnouts in colleges, Eustonov is one that is always down there. I mean, looking at recent statistics, their turnout was doubled for the NUS referendum to a whopping 2.7%. Now, there seems to be, talking to a lot of postgrads, there seems to be a certain amount of apathy there, and I aim to communicate with them, get them more involved, make sure that they know that they are as much a part of this union than your undergrads.
I was going to go for Eustonov as well, so I guess I'll try and pick a different option. I know that traditionally turnout hasn't been that great in Kassel, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that, I mean, a lot could be done to support senior DSU reps and the like. And I mean, I know that part of this role, as well as democracy, is training of DSU reps and teams, and, well, DSU reps, exact, that kind of thing. And, well, you know, at least securing it. So I think it would be really good to certainly look at the colleges where the turnout is lower and perhaps sit down on a one-on-one basis with the senior DSU reps from those colleges. Eustonov, Kassel, for instance. The Queen's colleges don't always have great turnout either. And you know, a greater presence in Queen's would help improve that right away, for instance. So yeah, just sort of sit down on a one-on-one basis with the DSU teams from those colleges and see what can be done to promote DSU activities and events within them.
What, if anything, would you change about the University Challenge selection process?
Christina.
From my understanding, I mean, I wasn't directly involved in it myself, but from the impression that I got, it was fairly well run this year. I think that the main issue was that it wasn't particularly well advertised necessarily, and I mean, sort of at a wider university level. I mean, perhaps within colleges, but then again, I didn't really hear much about it within my own college. And so I think if there could be done more done to advertise it, I mean, that's another thing within DSU is that there is often a breakdown in communication between the SABs and the DSU staff. And the staff are the ones who are out producing all these posters for Planet of Sound and Revolver, but everybody knows that they happen. Whereas, you know, things like University Challenge, I think, could be far more advertised at the university level, sort of across the board to all the colleges, and just sort of made much more high-profile events than they currently are in some places.
I personally think that University and Challenge has improved a lot under Ben's regime, if I use the right word there. Previous years, it was a system of a tournament-style system where the winning team then went on to represent the university, whereas under Ben's regime, as I phrased it earlier, it's a case of choosing the individual members from these teams to create a stronger Durham-wide team. I think that this has been a really good start in improving the selection of University Challenge. From there, I would like to make sure that more people know about it, so we have a wider pool to select an even stronger team and hopefully go on to win.
Ben has set some quite optimistic election turnout targets for next year. Speak for yourself. Do you think they're achievable? Other than, of course, Patrick up there.
If I'm not mistaken, the target for the turnout for the elections now is 40%. It's achievable. Other universities do it, so why can't we? It's just a case of things like the mobile, the polling stations that are being set up around places, encouraging people to come and vote. It takes a few minutes of their time, and they get to make sure that their officers have a stronger voice behind them when they say the student body wants to do this.
Yeah, from what I understand as well, it is a 2-year strategic sort of voting plan that Ben has sort of worked on, and I think it's up for renewal at some point in the next year or so. I think that, again, I mean, this goes down to, well, you know, when in a university like Durham, where you have a collegiate system, and people vote in, I know at Butler there's 4 rounds of exec elections, so why are you going to go and log on and vote again for DSU elections for people that you might not necessarily have seen much of or heard much from or anything like that? So I think, again, it is a matter of sitting down with Joint Committee and the DSU reps, both senior and, you know, just the DSU reps as they have been renamed now as of last night, and just sort of work out strategies for ways of getting people to vote within their college. As I know that in catered colleges, it's very effective to have, you know, voting polls near outside dining halls and that kind of thing. But not all colleges are catered. Butler and Ustinov are not. I know that Cots have some accommodation that isn't, and there's also Stevenson and Snow are only sort of semi-catered. And so it's not, like, for them, that's not necessarily the most effective way of going about it. So it would be a matter of sitting down with the DSU reps and their DSU teams and determining what would be the most effective way of, you know, reaching out to students and encouraging them to vote and getting the information out to them.
We have time for one more question. I'm going to take that one just there.
From society's point of view, Graham, you talked about sort of cutting the red tape and stuff like that. So sort of how, but sort of more importantly, what were you thinking about implementing, like, you know, as a sort of feedback response on kind of side of things in order to improve that?
Questions for both candidates. So it's a whole
sorry, yeah, I meant for both of you, yeah.
In the whole state procedures. So we'll start with Christine.
Well, in my HUST, I mentioned the forums that I would like to establish, sort of termly forums for societies that, you know, have certain topical interests. I would also like to have a bit more of a personal relationship with societies. I know there are so many of them that might prove to be slightly unrealistic at the end of the day, but I would want societies to know that if there's any feedback that they would want in any way, shape, or form, then I'm here to do that. I would have regular drop-in hours both here in Durham and at Queen's campus for anybody who would want any kind of feedback. And I think that's really important. I know Ben does drop-in hours now, but I'm not really sure what the representation is like at Queen's, for instance. So just sort of encouraging that kind of stuff.
I mentioned in my HUST this user area I'd like for societies. I don't know how many of you know, but this year for the Freshers' Fair, for the societies I'm part of the exec of, received an email with a Word document attached. I filled in this Word document and emailed it back. We could cut down on time for things like this by, in this user area, having electronic sign-ups for events such as the Freshers' Fair, the Refreshers' Fair, and making sure that things like the claims forms are done there. This stops forms being emailed back and forth, having to be downloaded when you might be in a dodgy connection area, things like that. Speeds up everything that the exec are trying to do.
Okay, I will take one more question, and I will go there.
Yeah, both of you sort of focus more on the society's part of the role rather than student development, and obviously being a new role, the exact remit that it covers is quite woolly, and, you know, student development is a very broad term, but what do you both see as sort of specifically what student development means in terms of this role?
For student development, I'd be working closely with the DARC officer, for example, with Palatinate, with Purple Radio, to try and provide as many opportunities for the students as possible. As I said, with the City of Culture bid, I want to see how we can get involved in this, talking to city councils to see what we as a union can do for this kind of thing.
Yeah, again, with the City of Culture bid, I mentioned it in my manifesto, if you want to take a look. And I meant to mention it in my HUST, but then I got stressed about time. So basically, I realize that student development is quite a broad role, but it's the aspect that I've become involved in within DSU under as environment and ethics. And I think, I would like to see student development promoted through societies and vice versa. I do think that can be done if there's a close working relationship with the societies. Also, again, I hate to say what you just said, but the whole City of Culture bid, I think, is very important to us as a university who are in Durham, and I think that it would be really, beneficial to us as a university if we did work with the city on that. And I think that student development would be promoted through that as well, from a cultural point of view, if that makes sense.
Excellent. I'm afraid we're out of time now for the questions for these candidates, but thank you very much. Best of luck to you both.